So, last weekend, my daughter and I drove to Atlanta for her first college audition. Now, she has to audition for college because she wants to get into a musical theater program, and it's competitive. So, long drive. In order to keep ourselves entertained, we listened to the entire soundtrack of the musical Hamilton, which is pretty amazing, and Olivia's favorite musical, at least for now. But it's no wonder. I mean, it's just a work of genius. Lin-Manuel Miranda is really brilliant. And since we won't be going and seeing the Broadway show anytime soon, since those tickets they start at $800, I mean, if you can get them. So, listening to the musical, the soundtrack is about as close as we can get. And it's interesting, the phenomenon of this, because it is bringing up in our American consciousness our roots and how kind of improbable, against all odds, it really was. And I know, we all took American Revolution and, we studied that in grade school, but it's been a while. So we forget, or at least I forgot, how messy the beginning really was. They really didn't know exactly how it was going to work. It's like our founding fathers were kind of making it up as they went along. And it was messy, and it was contentious, a lot of arguments. Everybody had an opinion about the way to do it, and it's different from everyone else's. And as Lin-Manuel Miranda sings in the opening song, as that character of Hamilton, I'm just like my country. I'm young, scrappy, and hungry. Young, scrappy, and hungry. That's kind of the way it is and the way it was. But there was one grand motivation that started the whole thing, and that was we got to a point where we could no longer tolerate being dictated to, taxed by, and subjected to the whims of a king that lived an entire ocean away. We were ready to create something new, something truly, boldly transformational. I mean, there just never had been anything like this. An entire, self-governing country made up of individual states. And, like most revolutions, it starts with that, it's like we can no longer tolerate being subjects. We can no longer tolerate the oppression. We all want the same thing, no matter what it is. They all start like this because we all want the same thing. We all want fairness. We all want respect. We all want happiness. We all want a fair opportunity to discover and share our gifts, make something of our lives, right? And like revolutions that, start by overthrowing a dictator, very often, they end up putting another dictator in his place. Or someone who starts out with good intentions, but then gets corrupted by power shortly after. And so our founding fathers knew that, though, and that's why they put into place a system of checks and balances, which has worked pretty well so far. And now today we find ourselves in a place where, our rights could begin to deteriorate, particularly if you're a woman or a minority, person of color, person in the LGBT community. And we've already seen our Mexican and Muslim brothers and sisters being vilified and, threatened to be deported. And for the longest time, we have seen our planet being abused by an economic system that is profit at all cost. And for a long time, as Bernie Sanders always reminded us, and he still does, God bless him, his voice is still there, reminds us that, the economic system is set up to reward the top 1% at the expense of everyone else, and that they really don't care about who gets squeezed, down at the bottom of that system. So maybe it's time for a new revolution.
Let's do it.
Yay! But this time, maybe we start a revolution that gets to the heart of all of these problems. What's at the heart of all of these problems is a lack of compassion, a closed heart, an inability to understand, an unwillingness to walk in each other's moccasins, and frankly, a lack of feminine energy. So we need a revolution of a different sort. I'm talking about a kindness revolution. A kindness revolution. Imagine. That begins in us. That begins with a willingness for us to open our hearts, to really connect with the love, the presence of love within us, to connect with our compassion, to reach out and see other people and listen and see someone else's point of view. It takes a willingness to step outside of our comfort zone and offer kindness to others. And it takes a willingness to see that a kindness revolution really can change everything. It can change everything. To lay hold of that idea that God has for us to live together peacefully, respectfully, lovingly even, generously even, and to know that if the Creator sees that for us, then not only is it possible for us, but we're coded for it. It is in our DNA. We just need to open to that vision, embrace it, and make a commitment to being our best self, our true spiritual that you were singing about, our true spiritual self. The Dalai Lama wrote, "Our own successful or happy future is very much related to that of others. Therefore, helping others or having consideration for their rights and needs is actually not just a matter of responsibility, but involves our own happiness." So in the book, A Force for Good, that we are using as our guide through this series, the Dalai Lama sees a shift in the economic system from one of profit at all cost to one where people matter. And he sees a healthy economy measured not by the GDP, not by how many billionaires there are, but by the well-being of all, in all respects. Well-being of all. And he points to the ways that not only is this shift possible, but it's actually already happening. He has examples in there about how this is already happening. There are companies that apparently there's this new, or maybe it's just new to me, but it's a B corporation, B for benefit. And apparently it is a cross between a for-profit and a non-profit. So these companies have as their mission either to benefit the environment or society, as well as make a profit. It's like a triple bottom line: planet, people, and profit. All equally important. Isn't that amazing? Yeah. And you may have heard of some of these companies. Patagonia is a good example. Their B Corporation status made it possible for them to invest time and resources to refine rubber for their wetsuits from desert shrubs instead of petroleum. And they did it, you know? And now it took a long time for them to recoup the investment. That's what that B Corporation allows them to do. But what a benefit to all of us. What an amazing benefit to the planet, you know? And you may have heard of terms for these kinds of companies. Conscious capitalism is a term you may have heard, or a purpose-driven business. And if you haven't heard these terms, start thinking about it, start using it, start talking about it. Let's spread this idea in the collective consciousness. Conscious capitalism, purpose-driven business. There's also, you know, a lot of companies these days that are very much aware of their corporate responsibility, corporate social responsibility. You know, that's like a big thing. Even Cisco is a good example. Right here in Research Triangle, right? Well, they have like 60,000 employees that live and work in India. And one day, a huge flood came through the village and nearly wiped out everything. And so they sent employees to go and rebuild thousands of houses and even a healthcare center to take care of people. And before they left, they also built and wired distance learning centers in remote areas so that, you know, get an equal opportunity to learn. And there are examples all over the book, the Force for Good book, of this kind of thing, and it's inspiring. And it gives you hope, you know, that not only is this possible, but it's actually happening. This shift is actually happening, and it's not coming from government. It's coming from everyday people. It's coming from all of us and people like us who are willing to reconnect with the heart, being willing to reconnect with compassion and practice kindness. You see, and that energy just begins to spill out into the world. It spills over into corporations. It spills over into businesses, and it can spill over into the government. This is the kindness revolution. Kindness revolution. And over and over again in the book, the Dalai Lama talks about caring for others, taking care of others. But interestingly, he does it from not from a sort of giving those in need a handout, but instead giving them a hand up, empowering them, giving them an opportunity to better their lives. It's like that old saying that has kind of become cliche. You give a person a fish, you feed them for the day. You teach them to fish, you feed them for a lifetime. That's really kind of the approach. He says, sometimes poor people feel they cannot do much to help themselves, but it's the root causes of their difficulties that need to change. They have the same potential as anyone else, but they need to believe in their own ability and to make an effort. Then, given the same opportunities, they can be equal. And he gives an example, again, of a village in India where a lot of lepers live. And I have to say, I wasn't even aware that that was even a thing nowadays, but apparently it is. And the disease, as it progresses, people lose fingers and toes and, limbs. And there is like 2,000 people are living in a village in India, and they are the outcasts of the outcasts. They are, forced to beg at the side of the road. Until one amazing human being came along who happens to be a friend of the Dalai Lama's. His name is Baba Amte. And he said, he thought, no, what the lepers, they don't need charity. What they need is dignified work. And so he created this community where the lepers by themselves built all of the homes. They built the schools. They even built a hospital. By themselves. And when the Dalai Lama visited, he was just overwhelmed with joy. And he saw that they were full of self-respect and dignity. And that, empowering others, helping people build self-respect and giving them an equal opportunity seems to be the formula that works over and over. It's like the Kiva Lending program that I know our outreach team is very much involved with, supported by. That program is not about charity. It gives loans to individuals in third world countries, and they use that money to, get the raw materials or the resources or the sheep or whatever, and to get them started. And then, once they're started and going, they pay it back. That builds self-respect, you see. And having the business gives them a sense of purpose. So I know if that speaks to any of you, you might want to speak to Maria right there. Our outreach team supports that. It's a wonderful thing. So what else can we do? How else can we get this kindness revolution underway? Let's talk about that. First and foremost, we need to spend time ourselves in the silence, courting the presence of love within us. Spending time, we are an expression of divine love. We have a field of limitless love that is in us, right here in the center. And spending time, daily meditation or contemplative prayer or the loving kindness meditation that we've done here a few times, that kind of thing, just we open to it and it expands in us and we allow it to really fill us. And we come from that core place. It's so important to this revolution, this kindness revolution, because that starts with us. We want to come from a place of love. How many of you were at one of the women's marches yesterday? People in Raleigh, and Hillsborough, Greensboro, they were all over. Weren't you amazed? I mean, I was so amazed by the majority of the people there were kind and peaceful and cooperative and loving and compassionate. People were holding up signs about love, about compassion. Of course, there were other signs that said other things. You all know what those were. And not everybody was from that place, but the majority were. And I just thought, oh my God, people caring about other people, standing up together in solidarity. It was just beautiful. It's really, really a beautiful thing to witness. So important that we always connect through practice. We need to build that practice to keep that connection going. So we're connected to that kindness. We're connected to that love and that peace within us because it starts with us. And of course, we always, things that we're talking about in the morning group, the book study group, about things that trigger us to get off of that area of compassion. So a spiritual practice really can help to build those muscles. The second thing we can do is we could support those businesses that I was just talking about, those B corporations, the companies that are really active in being socially responsible. We can buy the products and services from them. And if anybody feels moved to do this, I think it would be a really wonderful contribution to start to research some of these companies and put together a list. Maybe some of you can get together, research and put together a list of the products and services and share it with us. And we'll put it up on our website. You know, we have a Kindness Revolution website. Yeah, it's kindnessrevolution.us. Kindness Revolution is us. Really is a way to remember it. So we could put it up on that website. You can also share it in your own social networking groups. I think it would be a wonderful contribution. So let's support these companies. They're socially conscious. Okay. And then finally, is be aware of just the people around you on a daily basis. You know, just silently send people a blessing. And if it's appropriate, appreciate them, express your appreciation. You know, particularly, you know, if you're going through your day and you see people who are doing what we might consider menial tasks. Like, you know, the person who cleans off your table, clears it and cleans it off. And, you know, it may seem like nothing, but it's important. That's important. It gives you a nice place to, you know, sit down and have a meal. Appreciate that person. The person, the bag, the checker, the grocery store who carefully places the eggs at the top of the, you know, the bag. All these, they're little things, but they all add up to our experience of having a better experience in life. And so it's important. And if you appreciate that person, you know, will feel good about themselves. It builds self-respect. And it begins to spread out into the world. You know, that it gets shared. So next time we'll talk more about some more things that we can do, as well as ways that we can treat our beautiful planet Earth with a little more love and respect. Do that next time. In the meantime, just embrace this idea. Embrace this idea of a kindness revolution. Really let that idea build in your heart, in your consciousness. Know that you are co-creating that with the divine. We are co-creating it together with the divine. We're bringing that potential, that divine idea, into expression. It's our time. It's for us to do. So let's be about it. Namaste.
Namaste.